So it was about 2019. I was sitting across the table from my cousin, hungover after the holidays, and I'd rented out this, it was a cabin actually through my job. It was super awesome, but we were all too hungover to even enjoy it by the second day. I just like looked over at my cousin and I'm like, I think for my New Year's resolution, I'm gonna get into drones. And he just kind of gave me like a response like, okay. Kind of like, you know, whatever, dude. Like, that's random. But it was like weird because as soon as that hit me, I got serious about it. And I actually started just deep diving into drone videos on YouTube. You know, watching, I think the first really awesome FPV video I saw, believe it or not, it isn't Johnny FPV. It's actually this Mr. Steel video. And I saw this dude ripping through this like concrete area. Like, it wasn't a bando. It's when he flies all the time. If you've watched his videos, you've probably seen this spot. But he's flying this spot and I just got like so excited because it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And it immediately took me back to skateboarding as a kid. It just reminded me of like, you know, naming the tricks and like finding a spot that you're not supposed to be at, getting kicked out by security and all that stuff. So I just thought it was like the coolest thing. So immediately I started like binge watching like how to get into FPV videos. And then I ended up getting a tiny whoop and I started practicing on that. And it was like January, late January, where I'm like, dude, this tiny whoop's awesome, but I want to step it up. You know, I think I'm going to start building a 5-inch quad, even though I was probably not even ready. I just started flying the sim and the tiny whoop. And I was like, dude, I think I want to already do a 5-inch. That's probably crazy. I started ordering all the parts, trying to figure out what I wanted. And by the time I had it all pieced together and figured out what I wanted to buy, it was like late February probably. Probably took me a month of research just to figure out what to even order. And by the time my parts show up, this happened.
Now to growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus officially hitting the U.S. Here's what we know. A Washington state resident fell ill after returning from Wuhan, China, where the outbreak began.
Yeah, the pandemic started. And here I am with a pile full of FPV parts and nothing to do except sit at home, just like everybody else. And thank God I ordered FPV parts because I needed a hobby. So I ended up piecing together this drone, and I actually built 2 of them, which was, at the time, I thought I was like being crazy. That was the smartest thing I ever did. I'd highly recommend, if you do get into like seriously flying freestyle or maybe even racing, get 2 drones. But at the very least, if you're flying like cinematic, get a practice drone and a real drone, like the one that you're gonna actually film with. Highly recommended. That's just the pro tip of the day. So I started practicing and crashing a lot and destroying GoPros and destroying motors and arms and really just trying things way beyond my ability. And I would say that I got okay, maybe even halfway decent at freestyle, to the point where I can fly now without crashing my drone if I want. Like, crashing is optional at this point. I think that's more or less the story. I mean, I guess it just started as a thought at a dinner table and kind of branched into an obsession. All right, I'm gonna fly this frickin' thing and stop talking to myself like a fucking crazy person. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. When I first started flying, I noticed the video transmission started cutting out, and it just kept on cutting out on an interval. Yeah, I was kind of worried maybe my antennas were loose or something. But I restarted, well, I guess I restarted the VTX. So I pulled the battery, restarted the drone, and it worked. The good old turn it off and back on again worked, so that's cool. Well, I'm gonna get out of this spot because as soon as I showed up, it seemed like people just came out of the woodwork. And now that I packed up, everybody's kind of gone. So I'm just not even gonna pull my drone out here again, because of course people are gonna show up again. Oh, somebody's giving me a jingle. It's kind of dark now because I did some flying and then my bro called and I was on the phone for a while. But yeah, getting into FPV was one of the best things that I ever decided to do. And when I first got into it, I wasn't sure if I would stick with it. So I did what I would suggest you do if you're interested in FPV. Start with getting a good controller. I don't necessarily have a recommendation. The one I started with is a QX7, Taranis QX7. That's a good one. That's the one that Mr. Steele recommended when I first got into it. And I don't regret buying that one, but I don't use it as much anymore because I switched to digital. So you may want to do some research. Maybe if you're interested, just let me know in the comments if you want me to maybe check out some different controllers and make some recommendations. But at any rate, I would recommend getting a controller that can plug into your computer so you can practice in a simulator. Liftoff is a good one. VelociDrone. There's a bunch of good simulators out there. There's new ones coming out all the time. Really just pick one. VelociDrone is the most realistic. Physics-wise, Liftoff, in my opinion, is like the most fun to play because the levels have a lot of variety. My arm's already getting tired. Yeah, so really anyone you pick is going to be fine. And just start flying in the simulator and do it as long as you possibly can before you buy a drone. You'll thank me later. One of two things are going to happen when you do this. You're either going to get really good at flying and want to fly a real drone, and when you do fly a real drone, it's going to actually work out for you and you're not going to crash right away. Or you'll find out you just really don't care for it that much. So that's my recommendation. But honestly, I think everybody should at least try FPV. Once you get good at flying the drone and you're competent and you're not crashing constantly, there's no better feeling than having the goggles on and flying, you know, and weaving through trees and stuff. It's like the best feeling ever. And like doing flips and stuff, that's really fun once you get that control down. So I highly recommend it. Obviously now with cinema, it's also becoming more and more popular. Switching arms again. With cinema, it's getting more and more popular. So if you're into filmmaking, I feel like it's kind of required reading at this point. So at least look into it. That's pretty much all I got for you guys. So if you like this video, as always, leave a comment, like, hit that stupid bell, subscribe. I did that out of order. And you guys have a good time out there and stay safe. Got it. Don't you hate that everybody says stay safe? But stay safe. Peace.